All right, so we're continuing our ninth annual Couch Coach Live NFL preview. So tonight we got to talk about the Cleveland Browns. So I had to bring in Rachel Hill from Her in the Huddle. What's going on, Rachel?
Nothing. How are you?
I'm good. Just I would say probably by far one of the most intriguing teams from so many angles. Just in every year, but obviously this year I think potentially takes the cake. So, just yeah. So before we get started, just your thoughts on just this offseason, and then what do you deem? And we kind of deem who is your team's biggest acquisition, but also just your thoughts on that as well.
Well, when you look at the team's offseason, I think that, pretty much it can be said that it's just been Deshaun Watson 25-8, excuse me. So that has kind of been the new cycle. It's been the new cycle of the NFL as well. Everybody is wanting to see what is going to happen with him. I would also say that he was our team's biggest acquisition as well. QB number one. This team thought that they could not get it done with Baker Mayfield. So they were committed to getting a quarterback in which they felt that they could get things done and actually progress more in the playoffs and actually win them Super Bowl. So they went out and they spent $230 million guaranteed on Deshaun Watson. So that is also our biggest offseason acquisition, as well as everything that has came with that as well. So it's been 25-8 to Deshaun Watson and what's going to happen next with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things where it's such a fluid situation where, when this air, it may be some other developments what happen. So it's just a very fluid situation. So, and we know what essentially is the biggest headline as far as, as you alluded to a little bit earlier, but other storylines that you deem for this team, for this Cleveland Browns team.
One of the storylines that we have is that what is going to happen at wide receiver? You brought in Deshaun Watson to throw the ball, but who's he going to throw the ball to? You had an offseason acquisition with Amari Cooper as a wide receiver, but right now you got wide receiver dropping like flies right now. So you just recently Hakeem Grant just went down. He's a wide receiver. He just went down with an ACL, so he's going to be done for the rest of the year. So you brought in David Bell. You drafted him. You're hoping that he can produce for you. Last night, the Cleveland Browns had an opportunity to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Anthony Schwartz dropped the passes that were thrown to him. So you're hoping that Donovan Peoples-Jones, a product out of Michigan, will be able to take that next step forward and actually be your number two receiver. This team definitely right now, as of right now, is missing Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. But, we shall see. So right now, who Deshaun Watson is going to throw the ball to is kind of a big story to me.
Yeah. And you had a little bit alluded to earlier as well too, like just your thoughts and your outlook on the offense for this Browns team.
Yeah, absolutely. As well as that, wide receiver core struggled to score touchdowns last year as well. We went into many games where there was no receiving touchdowns, which is just a crazy stat to me. So there was a struggle and disconnect between Baker and those wide receivers. When you think about offense, this is where Kevin Stefanski, he's going to have to decide what kind of coach he's going to be. And right now, I'm thinking that this team is going to be running the ball heavy because you have a two-headed monster in which you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But last night, you had some of these rookies shine through. I forgot I just drew a blank at the one rookie who we just drafted, I believe out of Cincinnati, and he had an amazing game last night. And then Dearness Johnson, unfortunately, he fumbled the ball and he didn't have the best running game, but you have one of the biggest two-headed monsters in the league. So I think that this team is going to have to decide who they're going to be, and more than likely this year they're going to be a run-heavy offense.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Your outlook on this team's defense.
Defense is going to be so important this year because it just depends on where your offense is going to leave you at. And, we're looking, special teams is going to be important as well. Can this defense be set up to be in positions for success? Will this offense be able to drive the ball and not have the defense in bad positions? So Myles Garrett, he's going to come through. They were able to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney. One of the things that I like is these cornerbacks. I like, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. So you're in the pass happy AFC. You're going to be against quarterbacks that love to sling the ball. And you want to make sure that you have cornerbacks that are going to be able to take the ball away and get a bunch of knockdowns. Last year, Jamar Chase was one of the players that we talked about a lot. Cincinnati, he was one of the best receivers. But statistically, when he played the Browns, he had some of his worst games. So you have two shutdown corners. One could potentially be a shutdown corner in Greg Newsome, but I really like what they're doing on defense. So the defense every year, in Cleveland, we get very excited about the defense, about what we think that they're going to do. But this is a year in which they're really going to have to prove their weight in gold because of the situation that they're facing, which we don't know who we have as a quarterback and how this offense is going to be able to move the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the schedule was released in May, and I know it's always a game or two or three that you got circled on the calendar. Any games that you got circled on the calendar for this Cleveland Browns team?
For me, it's always going to be Baltimore Ravens. I'm pulling my calendar up right now, and I'm looking at the exact dates. But for me, it's always the Baltimore Ravens. They continue to have our number for whatever reason. We just cannot beat Lamar. And if the suspension was served by Deshaun Watson, he would actually be coming back for the October 23rd game against the Ravens. I think that's where we have him at. But we don't know what the deal is going to be with him. But I think anytime you're playing in your division, it's always a circle game. But now you can start circling that game with Cincinnati. Cleveland was able to beat them both times last year. I think the only team to do so. So you got a little rivalry right there. And Jamar Chase was talking a little mess, as well, too. But I don't really think it was mess talking. I think it was more complimentary, talking about, how he believed that Denzel Ward is a elite cornerback. And Greg Newsome is, Greg Newsome, but Greg Newsome, still has to prove himself a little bit. It's only been a year. But I think, especially in our division, those games are always circled. I'm looking forward to the Chargers game. I want to get back in a little bit of revenge because that was a great game against them. We do not have the Kansas City Chiefs on our schedule this year. So there'll be no revenge against them as well. But I think that'll be a good game. But I'm looking forward to the Patriots game. But this is all contingent on, whether or not we have QB1. And I'm sorry, with Jacoby Brissett, I just can't be like, I'm so excited. I have to temper that enthusiasm a little bit because we don't know what we have at quarterback. But last night, Josh Dobbs had a heck of a game. So, he came through for the Browns. It was just preseason, but Josh Dobbs looked good.
Yeah, and like you said, it's so much stuff is just contingent on QB1, and that's as far as what this team is concerned. So, and this one I have to preface because obviously I was asked, I call it the $60 million question. So, barring what we got present day, Rachel, in 2022, the Cleveland Browns will finish.
So this is barring. So this is with Deshaun Watson or without Deshaun Watson?
I will put it this way. Yeah, but I guess we can actually in this case, because we gotta give you a caveat because more of a ceiling and a basement kind of thing. Because yours is different because if I look into a crystal glass, I don't think QB1 is gonna be available potentially. So I'll put it this way: if you got a ceiling, like if everything goes well, like as far as everything is, if the suspension stays at where it is, or if it's the latter where we think if I had to put money on it, we thinking that it'd be a different outcome. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 games would have been salvageable, if you can have Jacoby Brissett go 3-3 or 4-2, and then Deshaun Watson got back, you would have thought that, they could stand to lose a few games. But if we're going QB1 with Deshaun Watson, I was looking at 12-5 with him. 17-game season. But without him, whew, oh my God. Without him, you can flip that. 5-12. It'll be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And, you can only ask a career backup for so much and him to do so much.
Yeah. And that's one thing. It's so contingent on things. And then, we're sitting here, pretty much less than a month away and still having this, this mystery as far as the suspension and everything is concerned. So yes, definitely a lot going on. So so that wraps up our Cleveland Browns preview. Rachel, tell them where they can find you on social media and also any upcoming project, what you got going on. Plug away.
Well, on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at 1ST Lady of Sports. I am on Snapchat and what's the other one? TikTok, but I don't know how to work it. I'm 1ST, so you can still follow me. I'm still 1ST Lady of Sports on TikTok and Snapchat. But like I said, I do not know how to work it, so I don't be doing anything on there. And then Monday and Tuesday, you can find me on Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM, based out of Cleveland, Ohio. And you can listen to it online at WOVU.org. So you can find us that way. And also, I do content reporting for MLBBro.com, where we cover Black and Brown Major League Baseball players. So you can see my content on that website as well.
Yeah, once again, appreciate you for coming on and previewing the Cleveland Browns. And, that wraps up the Cleveland Browns preview. We'll catch you guys on the next team. And we're
You're
out.
so welcome. Thank you for having me.